Hello, everybody. Hi, good evening. Welcome back to Real Talk with Shuvo. Today we have a very exciting guest. Now that our show name matches this gentleman's personality. Real Talk with Shuvo, and this man is everything is real about him. So we will meet him very soon. So we'll within 3 minutes we'll be back. We'll give some time to the audience to gather and join us. I'll see you in 3 minutes.
Sure, you're on mute.
Thank you. Okay. So hello, everybody. Hi. Thank you. Welcome back to the Real Talk with Shuvo. So it has been so real, the show is that I managed to mute myself and started talking. Thank you, Sarinda, for indicating that out. Great. So today, so as I always mention that we started this program to give certainty of the people around us, like who are out there, that the things are changing, but for a good reason. And there are a lot of positive things that are happening around us, even though we feel like that there are sometimes we don't have any control. But then again, why focus on things which you don't have any control? But today we have a gentleman with us, a very good friend of mine, who actually has made so much of positive impact in the society, and he himself has created so many positivity around him, within him, and that has influenced us so many various ways. So I would like to invite Sarinda. Sarinda, can you unmute your camera and join us?
Sure, I think you have to do that for me.
Okay. Yes. Is that okay now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you. So, love the new look, Sari.
Thank you.
Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. So, we have this awesome gentleman with us, Sarinda Unamboowe. So, before I start, I just give a brief introduction of this lovely, wonderful gentleman. So, Sarinda is the CEO of MAS Krida and a member of MAS Apparel Board. Prior to this, he has a banking experience. He's a stockbroker, and he had been working with he worked with the supermarket chain. Now, he is a committed conservationist and a champion of environmental sustainability, and sits at the MAS Sustainability Steering Committee. Sustainability Steering Committee. Okay. Now, a committed change agent, he has been one of the driving forces behind this work from anywhere, hence the interview, right? So now it's an initiative taken by him at MAS, and a strong advocate of flexible work policies and empowering women in leadership roles. Sarinda has walked the length of Sri Lanka twice and ridden a bicycle around Sri Lanka, not one time, not two times, not three times, 4 times around. My God! And then he has co-founded 2 huge charity, which one is Trail and another one is Wheels for Wheels. And he's a published wildlife photographer. No, not really. So it's coming. So he's a published wildlife photographer and he's passionate about physical fitness and believes a healthy and active body creates a healthy. He's doing a headstand. I have seen that, and it looks nice, Sally, the headstand what you have done. So with that, above all, above all, apart from this introduction, Sarinda is a very genuine person, a very real person, I would say. So what you see is what you get for this gentleman. This is what I love about him. Sari, so my first question to you. Now, so by the way, welcome to the show. Working from anywhere. What do you think about this concept? How did you come about this concept? And before answering that, where are you right now?
Sure, I can't hear you. Hello? Sure, you seem to be stuck. I can't hear you. And I can only see myself, which is quite scary. Okay. I still can't hear or see you, Shuvo, but I can see your image on the screen.
Now?
Okay, I'm
Can you
starting
hear
to
me
get a
now?
little bit. Yes, now I can hear you. Yeah. The signal seemed to have, okay, now much better. Yeah, I can see
I
you and hear you.
can hear you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can hear you. Yes, I, I can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it's dropped.
Okay,
Yeah,
now I
go
can hear
ahead.
you. I
Yes,
missed
okay,
that
go
question
ahead.
completely. You cut off before you
Anywhere.
asked me the
Why that
question.
concept? How did you come about with it?
Okay, so from the time I was,
Okay, so question is, where are you right now?
sorry, sure you froze again. Sorry,
Can you
sure you
hear me
froze again.
now?
Yeah, you're back again. I can see you. And I think the question was, how did I come about the concept of working from anywhere,
Yes, okay.
right?
So my
Okay,
question was,
yeah.
and before that, where are you right now? I want the audience to know. Yes. I want the audience to know, where are you right now? Where are you working from?
I'm at a nice little beach hotel called Kumu Beach in Balapitia, and I'm working from here. And I plan on staying here and working from here till Friday. So I like to walk the talk. If you're talking about it, might as well do it, right? The only disadvantage in that is that it's difficult when it's so beautiful outside and there are so many things
Yes.
to do outside
Yes.
to sit in a room and be on calls. But I think that's a trade-off. And going back to your original question of how did this come about, from the time I can go back to the 80s, and I used to go to the jungle all the time, and early 90s, and I used to always tell my friends the day that I can work from this location, I used to always say someday there'll be connectivity where we'll be able to, on a computer or whatever it may be. At that time, we didn't have laptops. If we can sit under a tree and have connectivity, that I would like to work from a location like that, and I would never have a permanent office. And I think what happened was with COVID, a lot of that became a reality. You suddenly had a situation where you couldn't go to office, you had to work from home. And some of the stuff that we had been planning and that we had been putting into place, like flexible work times, working from home, all these things became a reality. And working from home is a very relative term, because what is so important about working from your home location? Not everybody has the luxury of having a comfortable home location where they can work from without disturbance. Some people have a smaller work environment at home. Maybe they have young children who disturb them all the time. Maybe they have a busy family that disturbs them all the time. So sometimes it has to then shift from working from home to any other location. So that's pretty much the principle of it, Shuvo, because as long as there is this kind of connectivity, as long as there are the platforms that we can work off, um, the locations that we work from become inconsequential.
Right. Okay, brilliant. So it's like a beyond working from wherever you're comfortable, you work from that point, right? And
Absolutely.
work from different platform. Okay,
Absolutely.
brilliant. Okay.
And all it,
So what are
and
the
also,
benefits you say it has?
so first and foremost, what it does is it puts a massive amount of trust. The emphasis is on the employee. It's on the individual. It's a big amount of trust. And what I have found over the many years that I've been in the employment, in employment, given my age, I've been working probably a lot longer than the people who are listening on this call, is that when you give somebody that level of trust and you give somebody that level of freedom, it's very rarely that you would find somebody abusing that. Most people, when they're given that trust and responsibility and the onus is on them to deliver some whatever it is that they have to deliver at a particular time, they will do that. It is very archaic and very kind of old-fashioned attitude that tells us that we have to really control our workforce, monitor them on a daily basis, and make sure that they deliver. I believe that if there are people who don't perform, they will come to the surface. They'll float up to the surface, like a cork. They'll bob on the surface and they'll be very visible. The people who work will be the people who will perform regardless of where they are. So this is also a wonderful opportunity to see who's actually performing, who's delivering, and who's taking their responsibility seriously, and make your decisions.
But isn't it easier said than done? What do you say?
Well, most things, you have to start somewhere.
You have the KPIs, and you have to monitor them. Isn't it easier said than done?
You monitor KPIs anyway. You monitor performance anyway. Right? Most
So what are the benefits you see of working from anywhere?
People are able to balance their lives a lot better. And I think the biggest advantage here is for women in the workforce. Because one of the things that we have been trying to do at MAS, and we have been trying to do right through my career, is to ensure that we create platforms and the right atmosphere for women to thrive in work environment. And what we have found, and this is through research, this is not just me saying, this is the research that we have done within the organization, is that a lot of women, as they get more and more senior in the organization, they find that the responsibility that they have to deal with is taking more and more time, right? And the only way that they can balance their time is if they have flexibility. If they have a very rigid work environment, invariably you will find that those people quit their jobs because they can't balance family and work. Because however much we try to say that the onus of women's success in the organization is based on organizations themselves, a lot of women's success in their careers is dependent on their families. One of the common things that I have seen in all the successful, and I've worked with some brilliant women I've been fortunate enough to work with some brilliant women in my time. One of the common factors that I have seen is that they have an extremely supportive family structure, or they are single. I know that's a harsh way to put it, but that's the truth. That's what I have seen. Because as soon as they don't have that family structure to support them, if they are mothers, then the onus of child rearing, doing the homework, making sure food is on the table, making sure the home environment is good, is all on the wife. That is a very traditional way of looking at it. In the modern era, I think people should be sharing responsibilities. People should be sharing what is, childbearing, for child rearing. Childbearing can shared, but child rearing. Right. So I think it's really important that responsibility is balanced. And if not, however much you provide in terms of flexibility in a work environment, it's not going to be successful. So I feel that is one of the biggest wins, is that women especially can pursue career options that can give them their aspirations and move them up the corporate ladder if they have this kind of balance opportunity.
Brilliant.
And
it's
fruit
so
juice.
true. I mean, when you create that fruit juice, okay, great. Okay, great. So yeah, it's so true what you have said. So we have to create that environment around them so that they are able to perform better. And it's so true. A woman plays a multiple role, right? My wife herself it's a good example, right? So when she's at work. When she's at home, she's taking care of the kids, and then working, coming back in the evening. It's so true. So Sarinda, my next question is: do you think positive work culture can impact the outcome of the team performance? Give us some example.
Sorry, Shuvo, I didn't quite catch that. Your audio is cutting out a bit. Sorry, go ahead again.
So I said positive. Do you think positive work? So positive work culture can impact the outcome of the team performance?
Absolutely.
If you can give us some example.
Absolutely.
Positive work culture.
Yes.
Do you think that will have an impact on the
positive
outcome?
a positive work culture, by that what I take as meaning is that it allows an individual to develop as an individual. It allows them the freedom to express themselves, to be able to be creative, to be entrepreneurial. It creates an environment where somebody can really thrive as an individual. And I think while we create these cultures in organizations, one of the things that we try to do is we try to contain everybody. And that is dangerous, because when you try to contain everybody and you try to box everybody, you're then killing creativity. I think what is really important is to create a culture of openness. And when I say openness, that is what I was talking about before, where you're giving people the opportunity to voice their opinion, to be entrepreneurial, to use different ways of thinking, different ways of doing a job. If you and I are given the same task to do, if it's a mechanical task where we had to tighten a screw and do something, it's a different story. But if there's a creative element involved, if you and I are given the same tasks, we'll approach it different ways. And I think it's really important for the benefit of the organization as well, that we look at enhancing that creativity and allowing people the freedom to find new ways of doing things. That is how we find continuous improvement. Otherwise, what happens is we can things and we say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And then you don't get the creativity of the broad organization. So I think location, where you're working from, has very little to do with that. It's the contribution that you make to that decision-making process that is going to help with creativity and with the entrepreneurial thinking. I firmly believe that if there's a meeting and if there are 10 people around a table, and the boss is there saying, we're going to do it this way, we're going to do it this way, we're going to do it this way, and everybody else is like, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, and they're not. Then there is one person at that meeting and 9 people are redundant. I like meetings that are arguments, that are debates, that are, multifaceted. People coming and saying, no, I don't agree with you. I love when people disagree with me, because what they do is then they add value to my decision. And ultimately, as a leader, what we have to do is, if we don't harness the value of that greater team, it becomes a very single-dimensional leadership. And there is so much more room for improvement if you start harnessing everybody's views. And going back to the theme of what we're talking about, location means nothing. As long as you're communicating, as long as you're talking to people and getting everybody's views, and we're all on forums, Zoom calls, for example, you can have hundreds of people on. If you get the structure right, they can be just as productive as being around a table.
Really, okay, great. Yeah, it's so true. It really makes sense. So we tend to think about all the time, okay, it has to be a very traditional way, and that becomes a one-man show rather than a team working together, which in the long run it doesn't work. And I believe MAS has able to create that environment thanks to your help. Now, my next question, so as a leader, what are the positive changes you're witnessing especially last 4 months?
I'm seeing people spending a lot more time on themselves. And when they spend time on themselves, and what I mean by that is they're spending time on their hobbies, they're spending time on their passions, they're spending time with their families, and that gives a lot more value to them as individuals. I'm seeing people who are exercising better. I'd like to think that my entire team has got a hell of a lot healthier. There is a chat group with about 50 or 60 people involved who are always comparing their workouts. They're comparing their weight loss. They're comparing their exercise programs. And I think there's a hell of a lot more adding in terms of dimensions to the individual from being able to use flexible times. Because most of our locations also, Shuvo, that we work from are broad-based. We work from locations all around the country. So sometimes we are traveling as much as 3 to 4 hours a day to get to our workplace. So imagine that 4 hours is yours now, or 3 hours is mine. In my case, at one point, I was traveling 3 hours a day, 1.5 hours both way, each way. Right. So that's just sitting in the car and doing nothing. You're on your phone, you're playing Sudoku or Facebook or chatting with people or whatever it may be. Here, you're at home, 3 hours is yours. You
Right.
can work out, you can spend time with your family, you can do some gardening, you can do some meditation, you can do whatever you want. So you're giving people a lot more time back.
So there's quite a number of positive things we can see it's happening. In fact, what do you think about self-development or self-growth? Is it important?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that becomes a lot about the individual. How motivated are you to develop? How motivated are you to grow? And if you are, yes, office environments provide you with an environment where you can talk to people, you can get, feedback, you can get chemistry going, and you can develop there. But look at the opportunities that are available to all of us right now. You go on a platform like Coursera, and you look at how many courses are available from everywhere, from Stanford to Harvard to Brown to Yale to, all these universities are offering free programs for us to learn from. And if we are hungry enough to develop, and if we are hungry enough to keep improving ourselves, the opportunities that are available now, to me, are greater than anything we saw before. Because education online was fragmented. It was specialized. Now it's democratized, it's mainstream. Everybody is online. You can get a master's program from one of the best universities in the world online.
Not even going there, yes.
With that evolution, we have seen a huge opportunity for us to better ourselves and educate ourselves.
Yeah, great. In fact, it's so true. I mean, it has, sometimes earlier you have to travel for education. Now education is coming to you, to your home, on your laptop. You're sitting and learning, and that has had a huge impact. In fact, we are able to bring in world-class education to Sri Lanka even more better way, and that
Absolutely.
I'm sure that they work together. And so so ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Sarinda over here. If you have any question, please go ahead and ask, and we'll be happy to answer the question. So, Sarinda, my next question: do you think now entrepreneurship? What do you think about it? Like, what do you think about the concept of entrepreneurship?
So entrepreneurship, Shuvo, is something that we, some people it comes naturally to some people. But unfortunately, if you take, yes.
Sorry, I'm talking about entrepreneurship, not entrepreneurship.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
You might have to highlight that to me. I'm not quite familiar with that term.
Okay, so entrepreneurship, like becoming an entrepreneur within the organization, right? So you're working for an organization, but at the same time you're doing something of your own. So that concept I'm talking about.
Okay, so that is, if I may understand you right, that is, for example, being more creative in terms of how you do your work, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So
how
again,
you do your work. And let's say you work for an organization, but you have something of your own also.
Okay. So that is also you can put it. Sure, your signal is really.
Some of the companies are actually encouraging that. Do that.
Okay, so your audio is really not very clear, but I think I got what you were trying to say. I hope I'm clearer.
I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
Is it clear now?
It's a little better. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
No. Let me get to that. Let me just address that. That also kind of makes it a gig economy, right? Where people can then work on what your mainstream job
you're
is.
Clear. Yes, you're clear.
Okay. Right. So it gives you an opportunity to work on your mainstream job as well as do gigs outside.
Okay.
So we could be moonlighting as Shuvo, I think, went offline. Anyway, let me continue with that. We could be continuing with our employment, but given the freedom that we have, it gives us an opportunity now to do various other gigs on the side as well. And I think that's wonderful. As long as you're not conflicting in the interest with your mainstream job, and as long as you're not contravening any kind of law that has been, or rules that have been put by your employer, I think overall it's a wonderful environment to be in, because it gives you the freedom then to pursue some other needs. For example, I love wildlife photography, and I do it somewhat commercially sometimes in bits and pieces, but this gives me an opportunity to take my wildlife photography a little more serious. So like that, I think what it does is it gives you the opportunity to enhance the value in your own life, and therefore making you a better, well-rounded person. So I am all for allowing people to do that kind of stuff, to diversify from their mainstream, as long as they don't compromise on the quality and the value of and the time that they spend on their main job.
Right, got it. Okay, thank you for the reply. So there's a question from Shaila. So she's asking, on whom is the ones to set up a flexible work culture? So she's asking how to set up a flexible culture. What are the steps to be taken?
Okay, so in terms of an open work culture, Shaila, I think what is important is that the organization that you work for needs to be able to encourage that to start with. Because in an environment where you don't have that kind of culture, where it's not open to people being able to voice their opinions, it's difficult. But what I've also found is, even if you create that culture, a lot of people are not willing to take advantage of that. Because we've all grown up in a very hierarchical society. We don't like to question authority. We don't like to question the boss or the superior that you're working with. So that is something that I think it's a balance of ownership. It's definitely something that we both have to play a role in. Leaders need to create that opportunity for people to be able to speak up and talk and voice their opinion and be entrepreneurial in their environment. At the same time, is people, when they're given that freedom, they need to be able to grasp that and use it to their advantage. So that is something that is very important. I think it works both ways. And Shuvo, I think we lost you again. Shuvo, I think we lost you.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes, I can hear you now. But I can't see you, but that's okay.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
Sorry, I can hear you. I can see you as well.
Okay. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
I can see you as well.
Okay.
I can see you as well. So okay.
Please go. Sure, you lost signal again. Okay, sure. I can. You're back on screen, but I can't hear or see you. Right. So I'm just going to keep talking because I kind of lost Shuvo here. But on the subject of working from anywhere, the one thing that I believe here is that there are two elements that we can look at. One is the whole freedom that you give the employee and the freedom that you give the individual to have a better balanced life. The other thing, and the hidden advantage that we have here, and it's not really that hidden, is that there's a massive cost saving to the organization as well. Sorry, Shuvo, I started batting on because we lost you. Okay, so there's a big cost saving to the organization as well, because if you're not bringing your entire workforce into the organization, if they're not coming to office on a daily basis, there's a big cost saving there. Transportation costs are saved, fuel costs are saved, carbon emissions are reduced, food costs are saved, electricity costs are saved, all that. And what we have been able to do at our organization is to reduce our real estate footprint by about 30 to 40%. So that's a huge saving on rental as well. So I think there are multiple benefits to people working from home and working from anywhere. And the one thing that I would really like to say is this is not a permanent arrangement of working from anywhere. This is an arrangement where your work is like a hybrid model. You work from anywhere most days, but you have 2 or 3 days a week or 2 days a week or 1 day a week or whatever it is that you do come to office. So then you do have your interaction with your teams. You do have your interaction with your with the rest of the organization, where you can, get the energy, bounce the ideas, whatever it may be. But we have to get used to this new way of thinking and the new way of working, because there is so many benefits to the planet, for example, the reduction of carbon footprint, the reduction of emissions. All those things are so vital that I think that if we really make this mainstream, if government adopts this and takes it forward, I think it's going to be a massive benefit for Sri Lanka. And Shuvo, I think we lost you again. And I think we have run over time anyway. In the absence of any other questions, I think it might be time for us to call it a night. Any other questions? So for those, I know we've lost Shuvo, and for those who are listening, I think I'd just like to sum up by saying that this is a change of mindset. This is a change for all of us, not just the employees and the leaders employees, but the leaders and the employers, the organizations. So huge mindset shift. Because as I was saying before, a lot of us are people who are products of a very, very hierarchical society, starting from our parents, from our teachers, from our schools, to the business environments. They have been very, very hierarchical. So this is a change. This is a democratization of the entire process. And I really believe that those who have the courage to change, those who have the ability and the strength to make that change and the will to make that change are going to be the winners in all this. So what I'd like to leave you all now with by saying, think about all the rules that you thought were the rules of how you worked in an environment before. And here's an opportunity to change all those that were really redundant. And that takes a bit of soul searching, but think about it redundant. We don't have to come like a herd of cattle to one place to be functional. We don't have to continue in one environment. We can work from different places and make this a success. So I don't want to plug anything here, but I'm available on LinkedIn. I'm available on Twitter, Sarinda U. Please do reach out if you have any questions. And we will be, I would be happy to. There's one more question that has been advised to women. Take advantage of this. Onali has sent this here, take advantage of this and really make it something that works for you, because you can, this is one way. If you're not getting the kind of support that you have at home that is required to make to be able to balance life, this is one way that you can really drive that change and make your career successful as well as your home life successful. Ultimately, careers come and go, but family is the constant. We need to have happy home environments, and this is one way we can balance them. So with that, and since we have lost Shuvo somewhere down the line to the depths of bad Wi-Fi connection, I'm going to leave you all and wish you all a good evening. Thank you very much. and all the very best. Bye bye.